All right, we are going to tackle some harder problems with these algebraic equations that we're going to solve. So F here, what would you say the first step would be? Well, remember, we want to go the opposite direction of order of operations. So we want to deal with addition and subtraction before we deal with multiplication and division. So I'm going to get this plus 5 on the other side. So I'm going to get a 2/5 x plus 3 squared, and that's going to be equal to 5. So I've dealt with my addition and subtraction. Now I've got to deal with my multiplication and division. So I have to get rid of this 2/5, and of course to do that I'm going to multiply by 5/2, multiplying by the reciprocal. So this cancels, and that cancels, and I'm left with an x plus 3 quantity squared. Well, what happens over here? Well, when I'm multiplying fractions, I can rewrite this 5 in front as a 5/1. So when I'm doing this, I'm going to have 25 divided by 2. And that's not reducible, so we're just going to leave it like that. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to square root both sides. Okay, so we're going to be left with x plus 3 is equal to the square root of 25 divided by 2, and it is going to be a plus or minus, right? So I'm going to split this up into 2. Well, what's the square root of 25? Well, let's go ahead and let's reduce this before we drop it into our two equations. So square root of 25 is going to be 5, and then we're going to leave that root 2 in the denominator. All right, so I'm going to have a positive 5 divided by root 2, and here I'm going to have a negative 5 divided by root 2. All right, so let's go ahead and solve this. So I'm going to subtract 3 from this, and I'm going to subtract 3 from this. So my final answer is going to be x equals a 5 over root 2 minus 3. Okay, over here, my final answer is going to be, that disappears, x equals negative 5 over root 2 minus 3. See, I've got to do that to both sides. Now, we're going to learn later that this is not the ideal way to write this. We're going to learn how to rationalize the denominator, meaning not have a square root in the denominator, but for now, no need to worry about it. All right, let's try this next one. Again, before I deal with the square rooting or the parentheses, I want to get rid of this addition and subtraction, so I'm going to add this 36 to both sides. So this disappears, and I'm left with an x minus 2 squared is equal to a positive 36. Square root both sides, and this one's nice and friendly, which is nice. I'm going to get an x minus 2 is equal to, well, what's the square root of 36? It's a 6. And don't forget, I also have a negative 6. Add 2 to both sides. That disappears, and I'm left with x equals 8. And over here, adding 2. That disappears, so I'm left with x equals negative 4. Because you owe me 6, but you pay me back 4. So, sorry, you pay me back 2, so now you owe me 4. All right, we got 2 more. Oops, forgot my equals 0 here. All right, so h here, let's go ahead and add 4 to both sides. That disappears. I'm left with 4x squared equals 40. Divide by 4. And I get x squared is equal to 10. Okay, square root both sides, and I get x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 10. Can I reduce 10 into anything? Well, sure, I can go a 2 and a 5, but none of that is going to reduce any more than a square root of 10. So that's it. That's my answer. All right, last one. Let's deal with adding this 27 to the other side. So I get 1/3 x minus 2 squared is equal to 27. How do I get rid of a 1/3? Well, I'd multiply by 3 over 1, or just 3. Same thing. So the 3's cancels, the 1's canceled. I'm left with an x minus 2 squared is equal to 27 times 3, which is equal to 81. I'm going to square root both sides. So that gives me an x minus 2 is equal to, and an x minus 2 is equal to. Square root of 81 is a positive 9 and a negative 9. Add 2 to both sides. X equals 11. And add 2 to both sides. Well, I got owe me $9. You pay me back 2. You're going to owe me $7. So x equals negative 7. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that these are hard. I promise we're going to do plenty of problems. I'd rather get more practice with super hard problems and then test you on easier ones. So don't panic. I know these are hard. We will get more practice with them. Thanks for watching.